Good morning, Instagram, wherever you are in the world. It is good morning for me. I'm here in a very unusual Los Angeles this morning. The good news for the Angelinas is that it's raining. We need the water here. It's very important. It's been a little dry lately, in case you haven't heard. So I woke up this morning to a little bit of rain, which is a nice retreat. Although I was in the Pacific Northwest last week, up in Vancouver and Whistler, where it didn't seem to stop raining the whole time. Well, today I'm joined on a very special guest today. Andrew Finlay is going to be joining me very, very soon. And Andrew is, I'm going to let Andrew tell you who he is, but his retreat is something very special. And it's a retreat that is in Portugal, and he has built this from scratch after being inspired by Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead, which is just an incredible story in itself. But before I get started, we are in the month of November. Hard to believe, isn't it? Like 2 months to go, and like we're saying goodbye to 2022, and then we'll be at 2023. I mean, this just keeps ticking over. I don't know about you, but the older I get, the faster it seems to go. And I'm not sure that's a relativity thing, but anyway. Yeah, time's going fast. But it is the month of November, which means it is the month of the sales. If you are living in the Western universe or Western culture, Australia, the US, Europe, it's that, Thursday in November, the Black Friday, they call it? Anyway, those sales are coming up, so just keep your powder dry for the NAMA specials deals that are coming down the pipeline. I don't have any visibility just yet, but they are coming, so just be aware of that, all right? All right, so I'm going to, without any further ado, I'm going to bring Wild View Retreat, which is Andrew, in 20 to 30 minutes, and you're going to be able to ask Andrew any questions you like. Andrew is running a juicing retreat in Portugal, and I think he's going to be joining us from Portugal right now, where it's going to be sometime in the afternoon, probably 5 p.m. There he is. Andrew, how are you, mate?
Hey Joe, how you doing? Oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking to you. It's amazing.
Excellent, brother. How are you? Yeah, we've only had one conversation, which is kind of fun. One of my best mates, Rod was up in the Northern Hemisphere. He's a mate of mine from Hong Kong and Australia. And Rod was actually at the retreat. And I think I'm just going to show the audience, I'm going to spin my camera around here a little bit and just show what you have. First of all, this is a lot younger Joe. What year was this, mate?
2004, 8 years ago.
8 years ago. Look at that. There's very little grey hair there for me. Dear, oh dear. But this is the board that is at your retreat, and you can see that down the bottom there, doc, not the doctor, but documentary, Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead, and that's a Monday there, 23 degrees, just for everyone up here in the Northern Hemisphere. That's Celsius if you're in the United States, not Fahrenheit. That's quite a nice day, as you can sort of see the blue sky behind where Andrew is now. And there you have it. And Rod, my mate, he said, Joe, there's a fella here. His name is Andrew, and he's got a photo of you and him, and this is what inspired him to get the retreat up and going. So I said, well, we've got to get Andrew on the live. We've got to get that happening. So here you are, mate.
I can't believe it. I can't believe that I'm talking everything that we've done, and to be able to speak to you now in person is an absolute dream and an honor. Thank you so much for inviting me to talk to you. It's just amazing. I queued up at the premiere of Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead to shake your hand and have a photo taken with you. And now to be able to talk to you after the 8 years of putting all the work in to do what we're doing now with the retreat and doing the juice fasting here, it's just a dream come true.
That's very, very kind of you to say, Andrew. Well, I'll tell you what, I've got a green juice here, which I picked up from one of my favorite stores here in LA, Air One, yesterday. So I'm just going to raise my glass to all what you've done and have a juice with you. I'm not sure if you've got one handy there.
I already had mine this morning. It's actually 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Clocks went back just at the weekend. So I had mine this morning with green cabbage disguised by the apple, and yeah, it was super tasty. But I couldn't believe it when this guy Rod turned up on the retreat three or 4 weeks ago, and we were showing the documentary like we always do on Monday night. And he goes, Joe, he's my old mate. And I was like, you are joking me. You've got to be kidding. And he said, no, I'll give him a call. And then here you are. I just couldn't believe it. I'm absolutely over the moon to be able to speak to you and tell you a little about what I've been doing since I met you all those times ago. It's just so brilliant.
That's fantastic, Andrew. I tell you what, well, I know your story now. I've read your story, and I think what would be great is probably just within like 1 or 2 minutes, so we can start talking about the retreat and the power of juice and what it's done for you and your guests. Because I think a lot of my audience would love to hear about some of those stories of redemption and healing. Sure. But just to understand how somebody like yourself really has changed your life, and basically said goodbye to what so many people are caught up in, which is on that treadmill, on that existence. So, maybe we start with the sad loss of your dad when he was actually younger than I am now, having reading your story. So why don't we try and do that in a minute and a half and see if the audience can just sort of basically get a feeling for what's been the driving motivation behind you here, Andrew.
Sure. Okay, well, I'll do it very quickly. Basically, around about 10 years ago, I was at a huge crossroads in my life. I was in a bit of a rut. I didn't really know which direction to go in. I was in a job in London that I wasn't enjoying, just living for the weekends, and I used to drink a lot. I don't drink anymore. It's been 5 years since I've had a drink, and I just used to eat processed food. I was just really in a bad space, didn't enjoy my job, and I actually discovered juicing by complete accident. I decided that I needed a break. I needed to get out of London. So I booked to go on a week's juice fasting retreat, and I had no idea what this involved really. And I remember getting into the taxi on the way from the airport to this place in Turkey thinking, what the hell am I doing? How on earth am I going to spend a week doing all of this fitness and yoga and on just drinking juice? Am I crazy? And nothing prepared me for how I was going to feel at the end of that week. I felt absolutely phenomenal. I was on fire. My brain function was just incredible. I felt so physically active. I smashed my 10K personal record the next week, and it was just amazing. But then, of course, within about 2 or 3 weeks of being back in London, the pizzas, the beer, the toxicity, the relationships, and all that sort of stuff came back in. And within a few weeks, I felt back to normal again. So I decided to do a juice fast again a few months later, and exactly the same thing happened again. And I just kind of started to do this yo-yo thing. I thought, I want to feel amazing all of the time. And the penny finally dropped the third time I did a juice fast, when I realized that, it was this 10-year anniversary of my dad having died of bowel cancer, having worked his ass off until he was about 53 and then 52 and then dying a year later, which is absolutely tragic. And I realized that the catalyst of that, and then understanding of how good you can feel when you optimize your health and just eat amazing things, was the catalyst for me to just say, right, I am done with this old life. I'm going to start making some changes. So I ended up volunteering on retreats. I quit my job in London. I got rid of the ball and chain. I spent 8-9 months volunteering on retreats around the world, chopping up carrots in exchange for yoga classes and drinking juice. And I just felt absolutely amazing. And then after about 8 months of doing this, just being connected to my tribe, connecting to the right people who weren't toxic, and just being around really amazing people, I realized that what I wanted to do was live like that all the time. So I wanted to set up my own retreat. And so I ended up going back to school and retraining as a nutritional therapist, and for 3 years in London, whilst I went off in search for the ultimate place to set up my own retreat. And the dream was only originally to be a couple of tents and a yoga deck. I wasn't expecting it to turn into the place that I created now. But my prerequisites from going on the retreats that I went on and from volunteering on them, as you need to have an unbelievable space with nobody else around for as far as the eye can see, relatively close proximity to a low-cost airport, amazing staff that support the guests, and brilliant classes. And so I ended up Googling abandoned villages just to see what was out there, and ended up just finding this tiny little hamlet in the foothills of the Algarve, and thought, this is it, this is the place. And that was 7 or 8 years ago, and it's been a long journey ever since. But coming full circle now to be able to talk to you, after watching the first time I ever watched your documentary is what inspired me, Joe. So thank you. You've inspired millions around the world to change their life. But what I realized was that juicing is an amazing reboot, as you call it, amazing kickstart, but you can't juice forever and ever and ever. And so I learned that I had to actually work out what were the pieces of the puzzle that needed to come back into my life to make myself whole again, which was the relationships, the purpose, the water, the sleep, the food. So that's what we teach on our retreats. We have a nutritional therapist here every week who delivers nutrition talks to all our guests. But we always start with your documentary because it's just an absolute killer. It's amazing.
That, mate, that's just a great recap, and what a story. I guess some of the things that I think some of the audience might be asking is, for example, how did you break that nexus of the financial? Because when you give up your job, you're giving up income, you're giving up security. That money coming in the door, and so many people that I talk to and know that are in this community, they don't have the financial resources to pay some of their electricity bills, their food bills, their gas bills for their car, school fees, and things for the kids. And so what's your take, or how did you personally cope with that?
Well, two things really. The first thing is that I've always been a person who has never done enough due diligence on what I'm about to embark upon, and gone into it completely ignorant about what would be involved. And I had no idea of the consequences of what I was getting myself into and how hard it was going to be financially and all of this sort of stuff. I basically came from a position of desperation. I was so low and so down. I thought, there's more to life than this. I've got to get out of this. I've got to change the way I am and what I'm doing and find myself a purpose again. And to be honest, Joe, the dream was just a yoga deck and a couple of tents. I'd been on multiple retreats as a volunteer, and I'd seen all different types, the expensive ones and the ones where it's literally just a couple of tents and people coming together and nourishing themselves with healthy food and sunshine and good talks and energy and all that sort of stuff. And that was enough. And so that was the original idea. I never expected it to turn into what it has done now. And so every year the place has turned into what it is now because of the income that's come in from the business starting to pick up. But going back to your other point, I also want to say that yes, it was partially desperation. But I was also 40 years old. And I said to myself, like, my grandfather died of a heart attack at 40, my dad at 52, 53 from bowel cancer. I might only have 10 years left of my life. I don't care. I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. And what I've discovered is that when you are authentic to yourself and pursue your own path, then you end up becoming happier, and then amazing things come into your life as a result. You start to attract amazing things. And I was given a large payoff from my job in London, and that was enough for me, plus the volunteering at this place, getting all the experience to start. And that's how it was really. And it just started off very, very small. I didn't have a big dream. It was more born out of, I just wanted to change my life. And I'm a firm believer in trusting the universe now. I didn't back then. I had no idea what that meant 10 years ago, but trusting the universe and trusting being authentic to yourself, because when you are doing good things that make you happy and make other people happy, then attractive things come into your life. And that's ultimately what's happened. So,
Well, the idea of authentic self, I totally and utterly understand that. And the words, or the way that I communicate this when I'm talking to others, is about the idea of life's very binary, and you're either in spirit mode or ego mode. Now, one's not better than the other in the sense of good and bad, and a lot of us do decisions out of ego mode versus spirit mode, but spirit mode is the truth. Spirit mode is the authentic self. It is when you are absolutely 100% honest, not only with others, but more importantly with yourself. And, it's a great lesson. It's a great example, because the more that you can practice spirit, the language I use, versus ego, the far greater happiness tends to follow you, and you become more useful in life, more of service. You get to find more purpose, and you attract similar type people as well, more authentic, real people, because there's an identification of one of the other, and that's who you want to hang out with. So,
and that's how I ended up meeting my wife as well. Because all the way through my 20s and 30s, I was repelling relationships because I wasn't happy. And I remember calling my mum up for one of the meeting rooms in the office in London, aged 33, 34, saying, I'm just so miserable. I want to change my life. And she said, Andrew, just go and do what you want to do. I just want you to be happy. So I went off and did that. And I said to her, listen, I'm never going to get married. I'm never going to have kids. I'm never going to do any of these things. I just want to do what I want to do. And it was unbelievable. And about 9 months later, I ended up at a wedding of a guy I'd barely met before. I met him in a sauna in London, invited me to his wedding in India. And at this wedding, I ended up meeting my wife Erica from Ecuador, and we got married 5 years ago. And it's just been amazing for me, because I realized when you're not following everyone else's path and doing what you want to do, you truly can attract these amazing things. And it's been a big lesson for me and a big journey for me, Joe, because I'm just some normal guy, and I'm not some, there's nothing special about me. I just knew that back then I had to change, because it would be an absolute disgrace to myself if I didn't make that change when I had the opportunity there in front of me. I wasn't married, I had no kids, and I fully appreciate how hard it is when you've got all of these ties and mortgages and debts and things. I fully appreciate that. But for me, at that time, I hadn't caught myself up in any of that stuff, and so it was. I said, I've just got to make those changes. I have to do it. And so
first of all, I mean, cheers. I'll raise my green juice. Everyone, I'm talking here to Andrew Finlay. He is the owner of Wild View Retreat, which is in Portugal, and that's where Andrew's coming to me now. You can see it's a beautiful evening there, 5 p.m. in November. Temperature, Andrew, in Celsius is?
Oh, it's in Celsius. It's probably about 17.
So that's in the 60s, for the high 60s. So yeah. Gorgeous evening. And I'm talking to Andrew, and we connected in 2014 at Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead 2 premiere. We took a photo, and then I had a buddy of mine who was at Andrew's retreat about a month ago, and here we are. So that's, if you're just joining us now, that's the background on Andrew. Now, what I'd love to hear, Andrew, is what if someone comes to your retreat, and I'm sure that what we'll do with the Reboot with Joe community and the team, we'd love to get some support for you and get some people who want to head over. Talk us through, what can somebody expect? I'll do some quick questions. How many days do people come, check in and check out? Is it up to them, or do you have a set program?
We have a set program. It's 7 days. We don't allow anyone to come for anything less, because we find that they don't get the benefits until the day 4, day 5. And so the juice.
So what day are people in on?
Saturday to Saturday. And we only do a select number each year, because I've learned from my experience working on retreats and being on retreats that you need to make sure that the staff are able to give 100% all the time. So I rotate the staff to make sure, and give them breaks to make sure that they are there available for the guests as much as possible. So Saturday to Saturday, typically from May through till the end of October in Portugal. And the rest of the time, the place is taken over by other people who want to rent out the space for their own retreats, because we have a purpose-built yoga studio, sports fitness studio here, and a pool and a sauna. So it's perfect for people to do their own things. But when people come on ours, it's 3 juices a day and a soup in the evening. And we have a yoga class first thing in the morning, followed by a guided walk in the mountains here, which is amazing. And then our first juice at 10. And then after juice, we have the first nutrition talk by a British Association of Nutritional Therapists, registered nutritional therapist, normally talking about gut health issues, detoxification, insulin resistance, stress, anxiety, nutrition, for all these aspects. And then after that is the first fitness class, because all the science shows that when you combine fitness and movement with fasting, the health benefits are significantly greater in terms of reducing inflammation.
So is each day the same layout for every day?
Each day is very similar. The only thing that varies is the size of the walk in the mornings. But what we like to do is provide structure and routine so that guests get into the habit of knowing what they do and retraining the brain and retraining the gut into the program that we're doing, because so much of eating is mental eating. And the great thing about going on a retreat, because I'm sure you and so many people have tried fasting at home, it's so difficult. And especially when you've got all the temptations of the kids' dinners or the shop outside or the takeaway or whatever. When you come to a place in the middle of nowhere, there really is no temptations. We take away all the nuts and the seeds from the kitchen so people feed on
Guys,
those.
sorry to cut you off. We just finished our morning workout. Now what's next?
Oh, so after the morning workout is juice again at 12 o'clock. And then there's like mandatory rest and relaxation time by the sauna, in the pool, in the hammock. And then the hardest class of the day is the 4 o'clock fitness class. And not because it's a hard class, it's just because it's the one where everyone's on their sun loungers and just wants to rest. And so, but if you can get up and go to that class, you just collapse into the yin restorative yoga class straight afterwards. And then afterwards you feel absolutely amazing. Then we have the sauna in the evening with the sunset. And then maybe in the evening after soup, we have we do the documentary, obviously. We also do silent walks. We do stargazing, just a little bit of relaxing stuff in the evenings.
And what time do people generally get to sleep?
Oh, it's amazing. People are normally off to bed about 9:30. It's absolutely incredible. And what happens is that people wake up with so much energy because they've gone to bed on a light stomach. And on the first night, we always have a talk about fasting. We explain the benefits of fasting and how basically the first thing that's happening is that your digestive process is slowing down to a minimum, and all of the cellular energy that would be used by all that digestion is then sent to other parts of the body for repair and maintenance. So your brain function, your heart function, your lungs and everything starts to basically be replenished by so much cellular energy that would have typically been taken up by digestion. So waking up in the morning, you feel alive, you feel amazing. And you get an amazing 9 hours.
And you're getting up at what time? I mean, what time does the bell ring?
So 7:30 with the sunrise for yoga.
Okay, so people can get 8-9 hours if they want to. If they, possibly even 10 hours, depending on what time they're going to bed at 9:30 to 7:30. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and people find that actually one of the main things that people come on the retreat for is just to rest and to recover, because people's lives, their lives are so stressful now, and there's so much going on that a lot of people just come for a week away from all the stress and toxicity at home. It could be relationships, it could be kids, it could be work, it could be anything. And then if you can get the benefit of a detox and some exercise at the same time, then that's just amazing too. So,
all right, how many guests are on a retreat during an average week?
22. We restrict it to 22 because I've been on some retreats where it feels like a Butlins holiday camp, and there's so many people. We want to make sure that the staff can get around the guests. So there's 22 guests. No, 15.
Accommodation is private, or you sleep with other people in the same room?
You can choose. So we have anything from the shepherd's huts, which are the cheapest accommodation. They're outdoors in nature. They have outdoor bathrooms with a hot shower with a beautiful view out to the nature like this. They're our cheapest accommodation. You also have the yurt, which is like a Mongolian yurt, outdoors as well. Then there's the triple rooms, so you can share with others of the same gender for a cheaper price with an ensuite. And then you have the twin doubles, which are en suites, but you can also have that single occupancy with a super king bed. So we've designed it so that there's just different price brackets for the same program, anything from 800 euros for the week all the way up to 1,600 euros, depending on if you want your own room and your own bathroom and everything like that.
That was going to be my next question. So really we're talking, because the euro and the dollar is the same right now, so we're talking around $800 or 800 euros to 1,600. Is that right?
Yeah, it's around about that. Yes, and obviously the $800 would be the one where you share.
Yeah,
it's not as ideal, but it means someone like me.
Hey, but listen, for 7 days, 800 euros. That's a pretty good deal. Now, how would people get there? If you live in, say, London, you would fly to where in Portugal?
Dead easy, Faro. It's the one of the most frequently visited summer destinations in the whole of Europe. It's called the Algarve. It's the south of Portugal, and there's about 20 flights a day from London to Faro. But a lot of people who come from America to the retreat, they fly into Lisbon, and then they just get a little connecting flight to Faro, which is 40 minutes, or they can take a train down. And our airport transfers pick up guests from the airport or from the train station. We're only 35 minutes from the airport, even though we feel like we're in the middle of nowhere. That's what's so great about it, is that the transfer time is not very big at all. So Faro Airport or Faro train station is where people come to.
Oh, that's awesome. I tell you what, I'm going to try and drop by next year, as we've talked about.
You've
So
got to come. Got to come.
I know I'm dead keen to come. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I've actually, believe it or not, never been to Portugal,
oh,
and my mum and dad they've been, and they went to Fatima, which I'm sure you've heard of, right?
wow.
That's
Right.
north, right? That's north of you.
Yeah. Wow.
And I don't know, do you know the story of Fatima and the history of Fatima and why it's if you're a Catholic?
Yeah, very Catholic, very
Big
religious.
big story about the appearance of Our Lady to 3 children in Fatima. And look, I don't care what religion you are out there, but there's a really good movie called Fatima. It's actually a new movie. It was like 5 years ago. Really good, worth watching. Anyway,
Fatima, sick, nearly and dead.
so I want to go to Portugal. I want to check out what I believe and have been told, beautiful people, amazing people in the Portuguese. A lot of my younger friends who are in the digital world are going to Lisbon, because apparently, I've never been, but there's a lot of young digital nomads that sort of do a lot of this creative digital work in cafes, and you've got a lot of influences, a lot of creativity happening there. Apparently at least it was quite a reasonably priced city to be in.
Yeah, definitely. They've created a new visa for digital nomads now to attract digital nomads. So anyone from around the world can get a year's visa as a digital nomad. They just have to demonstrate, I don't know, I can't remember how much it is, but you can get here. And Portugal is absolutely amazing. I feel like it's one of the last places where it feels really authentic, really beautiful, really calm, really relaxing, amazing weather, amazing people. The food's a little bit too tasty, so that's why I like to be out in the mountains to stop myself from feasting on all of that delicious food down on the coast. But yeah, it's an amazing place. It really
so
is.
if you're just joining us, I've got Andrew Finlay, who's the owner of Wildview Retreats, and we've been talking about his 7-day reboot retreat. It's really 7 days of juice fasting, where you're going to get a lot of exercise, you're going to get a lot of knowledge, you're going to get a lot of support. Only 22 people at a time. Andrew and his team there take care of you. If you want to get there, you fly to Faro. If you're in Europe, and if you're in the US or from Australia, you're probably going to go into Lisbon, little flight up, or a train down, I should say. And you're going to spend some time there. It's $800 is the cheapest price, and $1,600 if you want to have your own room.
Yeah,
so
but
pretty good deal.
Yeah, and we also Joe, we also do plant-based food retreats as well. So some people like to do the juice fasting retreat and then stay a second week and then eat the plant-based food, because
I was going to ask you that. Is that like a rotation each week? Each second week you have a juice retreat and a food retreat, is that right?
Exactly. We do 2 juice retreats, followed the third week is always a food retreat break, and that's the people who want to do juice followed by food, so there's a nice transition back into normal eating. But even on our juice retreats, what I found when I worked on other retreats and when I did juicing myself is that the transition of going back into normal food is really important. So we break the fast on Friday evening with a plant-based meal that we all create together under the guidance of a nutritional therapist, and it's like a fun nutrition workshop where we all make this nice food, and then there's this sort of excited wonderful break the fast meal in the evening where everyone gets to basically feel what it's like to chew food again and experience the textures and the tastes. And it's amazing because all the cravings have gone, the stomach has shrunk slightly, and everyone just basically starts to appreciate food and not take it so much for granted. And then we make sure that coincides with the things that people have been taught throughout the week.
Look, I'm sure that you and the staff must love Saturday mornings versus Saturday evenings, because I could just, the difference in the vibrancy of the people that are leaving versus those that are coming must be quite incredible. You know, really, really incredible.
It really is, and that's why it's really important that we rotate our staff every 2 or 3 weeks, and it's because the staff give so much to the guests, and the energy is really really important because the first couple of days, a lot of people come to the retreat with a lot of baggage, not just sort of emotional baggage, but just a lot of stuff going on. And it takes a couple of days to get into it. But by the end, everything has just been lifted. It's absolutely amazing. So not only do people feel a little bit lighter, toned down, but their skin and their hair and everything feels and looks amazing. But they just come into their own, really. And that's, to be honest with you, Joe, that's what I found so amazing about juicing and retreats, is that it's not the answer to everything, as we all know, but what it is, it just gives you that platform to make you feel motivated, to inspire you, to start, just to make that change. And that's what I find so fantastic. So many of our guests go on to do so many amazing things after spending a week on a retreat, because I think that when you try and do this at home, it's quite challenging. And if you can get away to do it,
Sure.
other like people, it's just brilliant.
I just noticed a good friend of mine, Dr. Robin Chutkin from Gut Bliss, who just was on the Rich Roll podcast. And if you haven't listened to the late...
I've downloaded it. I've got it downloaded, ready to watch, to listen to.
All right. Well, Robin just joined, and I can see
Hi, Robin.
she popped in. She may still be there, but for those that really want to understand how the microbiome works, really go and follow Gut Bliss. Go and follow Robin, and listen to the latest podcast with our good mate Rich Roll, because Robin is a world authority on this, and I know that if she's still listening and she's popped in there, she would be able to confirm just how quickly, like 1 week of eating a plant-based diet or juice fasting for this short period of time can really reinvigorate the microbiome and get yourself back into a great position to go forward from. As you've said, and what's Robin's Instagram? Gut Bliss. Gut Bliss.
Gut Bliss, yeah.
Is her Instagram. But as you and I both know, juicing is not the answer to everything. It's not like, oh my God, all you do for the rest of your life is juice. It really is a great Kickstarter, a way to break away from the trappings of society, the trappings of what happens with your with everyday life. And as you just said yourself, I mean, there you are, Andrew, you're in Portugal, you've got your own retreat, and you can't spend too much time in Lisbon because of all of the excitement of the food. So
I'm just the same as everyone else, you see. I may be
exactly, we all are.
I may be a qualified nutritional therapist, I may be a qualified yoga teacher, but we're all on our journey, right? So you should never compare your chapter 7 with someone else's chapter 20 or chapter 3. But I have the same temptations and vices as I did back then as I do now. I just have the education to know that I can't have any of that stuff in my fridge. I can't be around it for too long, because I know that I'm just the same as I was when I was that kid, when I was 14 years old. But I've made so many positive, amazing changes ever since the first time I juice fasted. And I really feel like it's a stepping stone. It puts you on chapter 2 of your wellness journey, and it makes you feel alive. It makes absolutely like full of energy, and it makes you feel inspired to start to think, well, actually I can feel better. I do want to do something different. But the trick for me was learning about the functions of the macronutrients, the proteins, fats and carbs, and why they're so critically important for being able to thrive optimally. And obviously gut health as well, obviously absolutely critical. And also surrounding yourself by people who are not toxic, who are going to support you. So I had to lose quite a few friends. I wouldn't say lost friends, but I just don't speak to as many of my old crowd so much anymore.
That tends to happen because you are like a mirror being faced up to them, because they see what you're doing and it's a reflection of perhaps what they're not doing. So I'm used to that. That's normal. I mean, you said 5 years without a drink. I think as of like 3 weeks ago, it's 15 years for me without a drink, So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, where we are right now, this Thanksgiving coming up here in the United States will be the 15-year anniversary of the beginning of Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead, when I'm sitting in the field and it's Thanksgiving Day. That was 15 years ago. I filmed that. I mean, it's kind of crazy. But so Andrew, one of the things which I want to tell us some of the great stories that you've got that people have gone to your retreat. Is there anyone who's sort of stayed there for a long period of time? Is there anyone who's sort of like, what's the longest a guest has stayed?
We've had one lady who stayed for 4 weeks, but she would go into Faro on the changeover day and break the fast and have a normal light meal with maybe some fish and some light salad. And to be honest with you, we kind of encourage people, if they are staying longer, to just go away and just have a break the scene a little bit. It can feel a little bit like a golden prison, you know. And you don't want so, but people wanted to come and properly detox. But it's important that it doesn't become monotonous and tedious. And so when people come for more than 2 or 3 weeks, they do tend to go away for the changeover day and then come back.
Right. And now, are you open all year round, or do you open and close?
Yeah, no, we close. I mean, one of the key things that I've learned in my journey, especially with my wife, Erica, who's been absolutely amazing in guiding me and advising me on keeping my feet on the ground, is not to burn myself out and be driven by ego, like you talked about. We could open all the time, we could do lots of retreats, but we weren't ever interested in, making money. It was always about just trying to do something that was going to be awesome and feel good about what we do. So we only run 12, 15 weeks a year, Joe. And we originally started doing them in March, but now we've decided that we're going to take 6 months off, enjoy life, do all the building and repair works that needs to be done, because it's just a small team. It's just me and one or two others. And then we work hard from May through to October, and the rest of the time Wildview Retreat is booked out by other people to run their own wellness retreats. So we have 7 or 8 weeks already rented next year for yoga studios, fitness studios, breathwork facilitators, all kinds of different wellness retreats from around the world come and use the space, which is amazing. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Andrew, I mean, honestly, mate, it's an incredible story, because a lot of times we get people here on the IG Live that have changed their own life via basically juicing and really sort of inspiring others. But what you've done is, not only have you done that, but you've actually created a space. You've actually built a business out of this. This is what supports you and your wife, and this is your life now. I mean, and I'm sure there are stressful moments, because bills have to get paid and shit breaks, and you got to do stuff. So it's not all roses, but at least the space you're in, at least what you're doing, you really are being of service to others, and you really are providing this opportunity to just do so much good and create so much harmony and peace and happiness for others, that that's going to get paid back in a multitude of ways. And I'm pretty confident that you're going to be setting some world records in your family's genome for living very long old age. You're going to break that cycle of your grandfather and your dad.
I think it'll be difficult. I've got to outlive my dad, who was 52, fingers crossed. But Joe, I could also send that right back to you and say you've inspired millions and millions and millions of people, including myself. And to think that, to go back 8 years ago, I queued up in line to shake your hand and get your autograph and speak to you and get a photograph in that premiere. And to be able to speak to you now, for you to invite me on this Instagram Live, is just a dream come true and a true honor. And I've been so excited, and I can't believe I've had the opportunity to speak to you and meet you like this. I really hope one day you could come to Portugal. It'd be such an honor for you to take part in one of our retreats.
I get over to Europe every year, so I'll come by next year for sure. We'll spend. I'll try and come in on a Saturday, leave on a Saturday. I'll try and do what everyone else does. It'll be great fun.
Oh, honestly,
I'm not sure I'll watch the movie on the Monday night. I've only seen it about 350 times.
I look like I've swallowed a sheep.
You've probably watched it as much as I have, given that you're playing it every Monday night. Crikeys.
A zillion times, and myself and the other staff, there's Millie, there's Mandy, and all of them, they've all seen it 100 times, and they were just all rooting for me today, knowing how awesome and how excited and what an incredible opportunity this is for me to be able to speak to you after all of this dream that's come true. It's just absolutely amazing.
Well, mate, it's a pleasure to talk to you. And just now, let's give everyone the final wrap so they know where to go to. What's the best way? Is there a website for them to go to? Yeah,
that's it. So it's just wildviewretreat.com, wildviewretreat.com, and Instagram is this one. It's wildviewretreat. We also have a Facebook page. We have a YouTube channel with some nutrition videos on there, which we're just building up. But yeah, Wildview Retreat is the main space to go. And any questions, don't hesitate to
So
ask.
we'll get Andrew will stay in touch with Marta, and we'll find out when you're opening up your bookings, and we'll do something on the newsletter. Make sure you're following rebootwithjoe.com and follow my newsletter. Get the weekly newsletter, because we'll put some information in there. And who knows, there may be a whole week where the Reboot with Joe team can go, and there might be a whole Joe Cross community week that we can take. And I know the guys at NAMA are interested and about what you're doing, and I'm sure that they even might look at taking a week. So I think there's some good stuff coming your way for next year, brother.
Joe, that would be absolutely incredible. If you wanted to come here and run your own Reboot with Joe retreat, that would be absolutely amazing. We can help facilitate that for you. It would be just such an incredible honor.
Yeah, we did a whole bunch of camp reboots for 5 days up in New York. They were a lot of fun. We had 300 people, 250 people. We did that 4 years in a row. That was a lot of fun.
Wow. Yeah.
So listen, we talked quickly about Rich Roll. You've downloaded. People have been asking. So Robin is on Rich Roll's podcast. So Rich Roll podcast, you can find that on all podcasts. And follow Rich. He's great. But Robin with the microbiome, some great stuff there. Andrew, you're a champion, mate. You have a great evening. Enjoy your plant-based meal. I know it's going to be terrific. I'm going to finish off and cheers the rest of my juice here with you. And, mate, well, look at that. See that, guys? How good's that? Look at that beautiful view there. Is that just gorgeous? Terrific.
Amazing.
All right, mate.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you so
worries.
much for inviting me and allowing me to talk to your community. It's such a privilege. Thank you so much.
Been fantastic, Andrew. Good on you, brother.
Take care. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, mate. So there you have it, guys. There's Andrew Finlay from Wildview Retreats. Make sure that you go and follow him and check out what he's doing there. It's amazing stuff. Beautiful evening there. Look at that. Gorgeous. Joe Cross signing out. I'm going to be back later this week. I've got Raphael, who's done an incredible life-changing juice fast to himself and what he's been able to do. That's coming up later in the week. Make sure you go check out namaworld.com and see what they're up to. We've got, as I said to you earlier, we've got the specials coming out in November, so get the power to drive for that. We're excited to be able to get some good discounts out there for you for this Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I'm learning. See, I'm learning. All right, Joe Cross signing out from still a wet, which I'm very happy about, Los Angeles. All right, juice on.